Mr. Holomisa, thank you very much for your time here on Newslink. Now, just firstly, are you aware of the situation in that area? Have you campaigned there as the UDM?
Yes, I'm aware, and fortunately, there were certain bridges which we recommended that they be built by the SANDF when I served in the National Defence Force Service Commission. Some of those bridges are still intact, but I think we need to give SANDF more money to make sure that the rural areas, roads and bridges are fixed by them, rather than issuing tenders to these companies which do a shoddy job.
Mr. Holomisa, we spoke to a UDM leader in the area earlier, a gentleman by the name of Bongani Mahlati, and he told ENCA that he doesn't know that area, that he is not aware of the plight of the community.
Mahlati is not in that area. I wouldn't be surprised for that. But you were asking wrong. You should have directed your energy by asking those who are running government. We are not in government.
We did ask those who are running government, Mr. Holomisa. The reason why we wanted to speak to you is because we wanted to know, as the UDM, when you campaign there, are there any promises that you make to that community to hold the people who are governing there to account?
No, I didn't campaign for that, because you cannot predict the disasters. What we need to do as a country is to make sure that in each area you have a disaster management on standby, so that when incidents of that nature occur, then they can jump in. So don't mix issues here.
Okay, how are we mixing issues, Mr. Holomisa? Because even though you don't govern in a certain area, you are able to, as a person who, for instance, does have a seat in parliament or does have some way of holding the current government accountable, you do have the ability to do that on behalf of the community that you are campaign in the area for.
That's very good. Then that's a nice way of asking a question. On that score, we are going to raise the issue of the effects of the climate change when we're back in Parliament, and to make sure that there is an adequate budget to address such issues. I've raised issues for many communities, more than any member of Parliament in this country. You are witnesses. I've written letters to presidents, to departments. So we will continue to do that job. You are not going to lecture me on how to help the citizens. And I'm representing everyone.
I'm not lecturing, General, though. I'm asking you fair questions. I'm just asking you, as a political leader who has aspirations, for instance, of taking over some provinces and helping people who live in areas such as these ones, I'm asking you a fair question. As a leader like that, what have you done to try and assist the people there?
Answered your question, and I'm going to take that matter up with the government in writing.
When you did take up that matter with government before, did you receive any response?
In some areas, the government don't even respond or acknowledge some departments acknowledge this. A good example is the Office of the President. I've reported many incidents in that office of corruption by some of his ministers, but he wouldn't dare to take any action. Classical example is the Department of Higher Education, including the unceremoniously expulsion of the DG, who was being bullied by the minister by issuing corrupt-related directives. So that's the kind of government we are dealing with.
And looking at the fact that we're going into elections very soon, the community says every time it's time for election time, it's the only time that they get to see politicians in the area. During the years that there's no election, everybody is quiet. What's your response to that?
I fully agree with that issue. That has been the accusation across the board against many political parties. So we need to improve our visibility in those areas. But as I've said, if you go to our website right now, you will see many letters I've written to different departments, premiers, all over South Africa. But there's no reaction.
All right, UDM leader Bantu Holomisa, thank you very much for your time here on Newslink. He says that he has tried to raise the issues, but he's also having a bit of an issue with how we ask questions on ENCA.